we can eradicate.
We are here in this room today because of Black trans women and because of.
I am not in this room because of Black trans women. I can promise you.
Why are you in this room then?
Because I was invited on this podcast
to
advocate
explain what exactly? The hate speech, the rhetoric that you spread on your little YouTube channel?
No, just to advocate truth and sensibility.
Truth and sensibility.
Reality.
The truth of the fucking matter is you're surrounded by 25 really proud LGBTQIA people who do not give a fuck about you.
You obviously do. You're here talking to me. What are you talking about? You obviously care what I have to say.
Because you give
You're
such
sitting
a hard
6 inches from me.
us.
I just want to be on YouTube, Michael.
Yeah. Some just want to be on YouTube. No, I'll tell you what. Look, we can.
Obsessed, and it's harmful when in history, but also today. This month alone, our entire government is run by straight white men who are hurting these communities. And I know you live on a pedestal, and you were able to put on your little suit today and spray on your little cologne.
Very nice. I didn't put on any cologne. That's just my musk. That's my natural musk. Wait, hold on.
Correction, you should have put on cologne.
Oh, wow. Real nice.
Exactly.
Real nice.
But now let's imagine a world where you had to put on a dress and you had to put on heels.
I'd prefer not to. Yeah, I don't think I would do that.
So what do you do about the people in society who have to put on their suit to live and who have to have a wife to live? Because
I don't understand what you're asking me.
People should. No matter what you feel deep inside, according to your views, people should.
I don't think anyone should be forced to be married or...
You're telling me you just spent your entire last 3 hours talking about how my people, men, should not be dressed in gowns.
Well, I think you're dressed fine. You're wearing a big T-shirt.
What if I wore
don't know, and I like your crucifix. Today? I would discourage you.
The thong that I'm wearing underneath.
I don't need you to show me that.
Exactly.
I would suggest you not do that. But
welcome back to the channel. So you just saw that is Michael Knowles in the newest episode dropped today of Jubilee's Surrounded series. It's an interesting series. I recommend checking it out. It is one person in the middle of a certain viewpoint and then 25 people on the outside of the opposing viewpoint, and they each take turns trying to sit in the chair and debate the issue at hand. And this particular one was one conservative versus 25 LGBTQ ad infinitum people. And I really enjoyed the episode. I want to make a few points on this. So number one is that Michael Knowles, whatever you think of him, does not get enough credit as being one of the most good-natured, amiable debaters. I mean, I cannot think of almost anyone else, even on the conservative side of things, who remains so cool, so calm, so collected at all times. I have never seen him get emotional. I have never even seen him seem to get angry. And just by that alone, he wins every single debate, because more often than not, of course, he's talking to leftists and they're losing their minds. And they're being rude, and they're being catty, and they're being childish. And that was largely what this episode was, obviously. In fact, there was really only one woman who tried to find common ground and tried to approach him respectfully. And she came on instantly right after this gentleman that I just showed you. And she got voted out by the outer circle almost immediately because, of course, she was finding ground with Michael Knowles, and we can't have that. So I'm just continually struck by how calm, cool, and collected Michael Knowles is, and the fact that he is never involved in any drama. Doesn't go at it with anyone on Twitter, as far as I can tell. I mean, not in a vicious way, at least. Doesn't get involved in any drama between any other conservative creators. I really admire that. I have probably more favorite shows that I catch more regularly than his, but I really admire, because debating, sitting across from someone, especially with a camera in your face, who you disagree with, and maintaining your cool is actually quite a skill. It's not one that I have mastered quite yet, and it's very rare. I would say even most men on the conservative side of things, at the very least, they sometimes allow their anger to get a hold of them, and I understand that. We're all human, but Michael Knowles seems to be a rare breed. The second point that I want to make is that, you know, he's not the only one, this gentleman that I showed at the beginning of the video, but he basically came to a debate armed with nothing but you're a fascist essentially, and this is hate speech, and you are endangering our community. I mean, that is a wild thing to show up to a debate with. And he's not the only one. You're here to have the debate, and your argument is we shouldn't even be having the debate because it's hate speech. Do you realize that that's why you guys lost? Do you realize that that's why you'll continue to lose? Because at the end of the day, people are not stupid. And they understand, they can see, and they get tired of it when they recognize that you are trying to silence them, which is ironically very authoritarian behavior from the people who continually call us fascists. People don't like it when you continually try to tell them that we shouldn't even be having the conversation. We shouldn't even be having the debate. People don't like that. And I wish that the left could realize this, but I also kind of don't wish they would realize this because it means we're going to keep winning. This is what red pilled me. This behavior is what red pilled me. For those of you who don't know, in a nutshell, I used to be a Democrat. I voted for Obama. I voted for Hillary Clinton. And I probably would have voted Joe Biden in 2020 had COVID not happened and the BLM unrest in summer 2020 not happened. And what red pilled me is that I started to pretty early on in 2020 have some questions about how we were responding to COVID, because people forget this, but it became obvious relatively early on that this was not going to be as bad as they had initially projected. And thank God, right? But I live in Los Angeles, and I didn't see anybody acknowledging that. I didn't see any real plan to get us back to work. I didn't see us course correcting at all or recognizing that, okay, we're not going to have 2 million dead like we originally said. And thank God, this is mostly affecting the overweight or obese or the elderly or those with pre-existing conditions, which is something we knew relatively early on. So let's focus our attention there. I didn't see people saying, okay, this doesn't seem to spread outdoors. We're realizing that. So let's focus our attention with indoors and let people out into the parks or whatever it is, or tell them they don't have to wear masks outdoors. I didn't see any of that. So I started to have some questions and concerns, and specifically, I wanted to know when I would be able to get back to work as a non-essential person. And then summer 2020 happened, and George Floyd died. And it became quite clear to me that I could go out and protest or riot or loot on behalf of George Floyd and BLM, but I still couldn't go to work. And that really did not sit right with me. And I was a Democrat. I was someone who historically would have been friendly to BLM and to their causes, and against this idea of police brutality and, oh my gosh, they're killing the Black people and we've got to fight for them and raise the fist. I would have been very friendly to all of that. But we were in the middle of a pandemic, and I was being told I couldn't go to work. I had a grandmother die alone needlessly. I was being told I couldn't visit family, but you're allowed to go out and protest. And listen, I want you to be able to go out and peacefully protest, absolutely. But why are the medical professionals supporting these protests? Why are they saying don't shut down these protests? Why are the talking heads on the TV? Why are the Democrat politicians in my city? Why are they encouraging these protests, even attending these protests, while they're telling me I'm going to kill someone's grandma if I go to work? Are you kidding me? And every time I brought that up, I would type out these long, very friendly, very polite Facebook posts, because I still used Facebook at the time. Every time I brought it up, my liberal friends called me selfish and racist. People who had met me in real life and liked me and had a good experience of me, a positive impression of me, they called me selfish and even racist, just for bringing it up politely. And it was this absolute refusal to acknowledge that I might have any honest reasons for disagreeing with them, any honest reasons for wanting to reopen society and get back to work. We could not even have the discussion. We could not even have the debate. It was just for years, actually, not just for 2 weeks, as we all know, not just for a couple months, but for years in Los Angeles, it was This is the way we're responding to COVID. And if you don't like it, you must be a Trump supporter, which I was not at the time. You must be a Republican. You must be a racist. You must be selfish. You must want to kill someone's grandma. You must be a privileged white person. And I was done. And I walked away from the Democrat Party because it wasn't just that we disagreed on how do we respond to this once in a lifetime circumstance, this allegedly deadly pandemic that none of us had ever lived through before. Because I get it if we have different ideas of how to respond to that. But let's have the debate. Let's have the discussion. Don't tell me I'm a racist just for having a different idea than you or a different experience of the response to COVID. And that's exactly what this, albeit badly, and embarrassingly, that's exactly what this man is trying to do to Michael Knowles. Obviously, Michael Knowles is not going to take it, but he's essentially saying we shouldn't even be having this debate because you're harming the LGBTQ community, and this is hate speech, and you're hurting us, and white men are in charge, and we're in danger. People don't want to stand for that for very long. Even people who, again, like I used to be, are friendly to Democrat ideals, are liberals, agree with you on a lot of other issues. But the minute they disagree, you tell them they can't have the debate. Eventually, that's going to red pill a lot of people. I like to say that it's Democrats who red pilled me, because it is. And the last point that I want to make on this is that he starts saying that, what about people who have to put on a suit in order to survive, or marry a woman in order to survive? It is the year 2025, and there is no one in the United States who has to put on a suit or marry a woman in order to survive in our society. And I would go a step further and argue that never in the history of the United States, probably, has there been anyone who has had to put on a suit in order to survive. They were going to be hunted down if they didn't put on that suit. And this touches on an uncomfortable reality that leftists and even some right-wingers don't really want to acknowledge, which is that objective truth does exist. And while every human is created equal, and we are all equal in the eyes of God, every lifestyle and every lifestyle choice and every preference is in fact not equal. It is a lie to suggest that a man putting on a suit or even just putting on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt is totally equal to a man putting on a dress. They're not. They're not equal, and one is not as valid as the other. One is a superior choice. One is a superior preference. I would argue the other one is actually harmful, and it perpetuates a lie. So don't be out here pretending that a man in a dress is a neutral thing and it's just his choice and it's just as valid as the man in the tie, and we can all sit around and sing Kumbaya and get along and respect each other, because that's not the reality. Yes, we live in a free country and you do have a great deal of liberty to do what you want to do, but I also have the liberty to point out that objective reality exists and that all lifestyle choices are not created equal. The same thing goes for, it's a lie to suggest that a man who understands that he's a man, that identity, that cognitive process is exactly equal to a man who thinks he's a woman. No, in fact, one of those identities, one of those cognitive processes is actually superior to the other. And again, I'd argue that the other one is harmful and it's a lie. So, no, we don't have to give in to every single preference that we have. Human beings have a lot of instincts and desires and preferences that are natural, but all of us would admit that it's not always good to give in to them. And we seem to be willing to admit that in almost every single other situation other than when it comes to LGBTQ plus infinity. And then suddenly We all want to pretend, including even modern day conservatives, we all want to pretend that you have to give in to every single proclivity that you have because, oh my gosh, that's how you were born. And you have to be how you were born to be. We can't stifle you. Otherwise, that's phobia. You don't actually have to give in to every single desire that you have. You don't actually have to give in to every single preference you have. I would argue that that is a poor lifestyle choice, and it's not as valid and not equal to other lifestyle choices of denying yourself sometimes. If I told you that you should go eat every bit of sugar in the kitchen because you feel called to do that, biologically, because back in the day we had to stock up on food because it was feast or famine and we never knew when winter was coming and we wouldn't be able to get them the next meal, you would think that I was crazy. You would think that I was harming you if I said, oh, you feel like it, so go eat all the sugar in the kitchen. And yet, when I tell you that just because you feel like you might be a woman doesn't mean you are a woman. Just because you feel like you might be a woman doesn't mean you should be a man in a dress. Suddenly, that is a hateful thing. You do understand, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, that we are not designed necessarily to give in to every single desire that we have. Sometimes you have the desire to wring someone's neck. You don't give in to that, right? That would be immoral and also illegal. So why is it suddenly, when it comes to LGBTQ, we act like, oh my gosh, you can't say no to your preferences? Why is that? Again, every human being is created equally. Every human being is equal, but every lifestyle choice and every preference is so far from equal. So that's just what I wanted to point out. I would highly recommend watching the episode. Again, I think Michael Knowles is just wonderful to watch. I will link the episode below, and I hope you guys tune in next time. Again, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you would like to see more of on this channel, and please leave a like and subscribe. See you next time.